I'll try to keep this introduction a little bit short because, well, everybody knows the Looney Tunes. We watched them when we were kids. The old shorts, they keep showing up every once in a while. They're timeless. We love them and all this stuff. When it's about hour-long projects. And sometimes it gets kind of like a little bit of a rough patch where you are going to see them, those old Looney Tunes movies in which it's usually compilations. Or sometimes there are movies that are only serviceable as direct-to-video movies. Or sometimes they try to hit it big, and the last time they do it was in Space Jam. I mean, Space Jam, for the first one, of course, that despite its own things, it still kind of managed to become a little bit of a cult following, I'll say. Not Space Jam, The New Legacy. Yeah, that was kind of like the last time we saw the Looney Tunes on the big screen, and man, that it botched really, really big, and that is sad. That is sad, and even sadder that we was about to get another movie called Coyote versus Acme, which and well, now it kind of became a lost media. Yeah, big story. True enough. So there was kind of like this rough patch when it's about that. So there was a little bit kind of like this air of suspicion, but at the same time, a little bit kind of like a really crossing fingers hopefulness when the next Looney Tunes movie was announced, which is none other than the day 80 years blew up, a Looney Tunes movie. And well, I've been here personally. I was hearing some good things about it. Even I saw the trailer, and you know what? The biggest reason I decided to watch it more is because 2D animation is not as it's almost a little bit kind of becoming a kind of like a very underappreciated art, especially nowadays in which everything they want to be CGI or look realistic or cartooning CGI with computer animation, all that stuff, which is fine and stuff, but sometimes now we kind of lost that appreciation on this kind of art, and I know that it takes a little bit more time, but it feels more rewarding and it feels more fresh now that there's this oversaturation about it. It's almost a little bit comparing the CGI animated movies. I feel like it's kind of becoming the new zombie movies, in which it was great for a time, but then it oversaturates so much that it kind of becomes a little bit tiring. So I don't mind if we're gonna come with a time in which we're gonna give CGI animation a little bit of a break. But that's just me. That's just me. I was and this Looney Tunes movie, I was kind of like crossing my fingers that it do get theatrical release, mostly because of all the stuff that is what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, seriously, this movie, how many times it has been pushed back on its release date? Some say that, I remember that at first it was promoted, okay, it's gonna be on April. No, December. No, then it pushed it to February, and just a week before the movie, the release date of the movie was gonna be, no, they pushed it one month, and I was like, oh, come on. So I was kind of like crossing my fingers they don't do it again, because honestly, I was wondering what is kind of like that problem, especially considering that that week on February, there was not exactly a good movie that I was interested with. And now we got it dropped just on the day when it's competing with and what was it, Nano King or something, that, the movie of the guy who don't feel pain, which is another movie that I wanted to watch, but I decided to take priority on the 2D animated film because I love animation more. It's kind of like my big priority when it's about movies. And I was just again crossing my finger, hoping that it's good, especially considering that how the Looney Tunes wasn't exactly getting a good track record after Space Jam: New Legacy. And well, I went there. There were a few people in the audience, and I got bad news and good news, guys. Here's the bad news. The bad news: I didn't like this movie. I'm sorry to say this, but that movie wasn't good. The good news is that I love that movie. I I think I got you guys. I really dug that movie. I came out with a smile on my face, and it's flawed. It's flawed, yes. It's not a perfect movie, yes, but it does the job of entertaining me for an hour and a half. It gave me a big smile on my face. It's the type of movie that feels refreshing after seeing all this stuff. And oh my god, those this is how you make Looney Tunes good. I dug it. I personally dug that movie. And the only sad thing is that not many people are watching it, and I think that there are some people that they're calling it a little bit of a disappointment. I'm not on that bandwagon. I actually one of those that say that please go watch this movie because we need these kind of movies. CGI is fine, but we got but come on, there's a lot of talent on 2D animation, and this is one of them, especially considering that 2D animation is not exactly shown too much on big screens unless it's one of those movies where it is from another country or like France or it's anime. 2D animation should not be, how can I say, restricted just because it's from another country. USA and Canada can also do stuff like that. Even Latin American also has some good 2D animation. But you know what? I'm getting a little bit too defensive about it when I'm supposed to be talking about the movie. The day the Earth blew up, and Looney Tunes movie. So here we go. So what the movie is about? Well, the movie stars, of course, Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. They've been friends since childhood. They're almost like brothers. They get adopted by this farmer called Farmer John, in which he treats them like a family. Then he went to bigger pastures, and he told them to take care of their home. So they did take care of their home, even though they do as possible, to do it right. They keep, make all this cheap arrangement to keep it standing. Until during the day of inspection, they find out that their house has a roof, and if they don't fix it in 10 days, their house is going to be condemned. So they're going to try to get a job, and eventually they get the job in a gum factory. But that's just the starters, because the main plot is that, remember that roof? Well, the roof was actually destroyed by a meteorite that landed on Earth, and then a scientist get brainwashed into collecting the goo from the meteorite, in which then he puts that goo on the gum factory, and eventually it turns into an alien zombie invasion. And that's technically all I have to say about the premise, because it from this going on, it's just kind of like a glorified B movie with animation and zombies. You know what? That's a kind of like, I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but The last movie I saw was Night of the Zoopocalypse, and it almost also had the same premise. The same premise of the meteorite landing on Earth. So in my head, I was actually thinking that there was another meteor that crash landed on Earth, and while Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, they are dealing this with problem around the world. The zoo animals from that particular zoo are also having their own problem. And so that is kind of like weird. There are some of course some little subplots here and there, but nothing that detracts from the main plot. It's more kind of like in the thematic way. And yes, just like Looney Tunes fashion, it has the jokes, it has the slapstick, it has all the things that you know about Looney Tunes. It's just kind of like an hour and a half. And I gotta admit that it does have also some effective emotional moments. And I'll get to that, but just in case. Let's talk about, the actors. Obviously, we all know the Looney Tunes. We know Porky Pig, we know Daffy Duck, and of course, there's also Petunia Pig in this one. Each one, are in their own lovable self. And so, there's kind of like little to know about, to tell about them, because we already know these were timeless characters, and even if you give them different roles and different movies and different things, they all still the character that we love. Like, for example, in this case, Porky Pig is kind of like the straight man. The straight man, the stutter, the nervous guy, and he's still his lovable self. But of course, most of his great stuff comes when he's paired with Daffy Duck, which kind of becomes the odd couple of the series. Daffy Duck, in this case, is a little bit of a breath of fresh air, in which, for a long time in the history of Looney Tunes, we got the comeback of Screwball Daffy. It's the Daffy Duck that is not exactly the egocentrical, sarcastic maniac. The egocentric, sarcastic guy who he's jealous of Bugs Bunny popularity. He tries to upstage everyone. He feels that he's so full of himself. That is something that, of course, I think it was during the age of Chuck Jones that Daffy Duck adopted that personality. And don't get me wrong, some of those shorts and that kind of Daffy Duck is still funny. He's still great in those ones. But it's been a while since we see, the other side of Daffy Duck, which was kind of like his early moments, where he's just a screwball. He's nutty. He thinks before he acts, and he's basically the guy who tends to drive everyone crazy because he's loony. Not just because he's a self-centered narcissist, like the one that is used a lot of times in this day and age. Nope. This time we're back to this Daffy Duck. And of course, both of them are voiced, of course, by Eric Balsa, which I'll give it credit. Just double checking something. I'll give credit that the good thing about this movie is that it uses real voice actors. Like I say, Eric Balsa is the current voice of the Looney Tunes, and it shows how that voice acting is not just talking on the microphone and do your job. It's just giving a personality, a voice, something to disguise your voice and to give characters. Also, we got Candy Milo as Petunia Pig, in which Petunia Pig is a little bit one of the less loony characters, but they gave her a little bit of dose of that, making her the scientist who works on the gum factory, and I really like that she basically is kind of like the voice on criticizing remakes and reboots of movies, but in this case they use it like bubblegum. She's like, ugh, why are you using? It's the same flavor. It's just different name and different stuff. And during the most of the movie, she's hell bent on trying to find a missing ingredient to bring a new flavor. A new flavor. That's I like that. I like that perk about her. And well, there are other characters that are there. There, like for example, Keith Ferguson is in there. What other guys are there? Carlos Alafrasky is also there. Uh, I know that even Wayne Knight is voicing a character. I don't know who it is, but I will say that there is a main antagonist in this movie, and that is the alien mastermind, and he's voiced by Peter McNichol. And that alien is, of course, he's really funny. I really like his relationship with the brainwashed scientist, and he makes me laugh, especially through the lengths that he just wants to take over the Earth because Earth has this valuable resource that he hell bent on wanting it. And by the way, I'll stay quiet about all these things because the more I go on with it, it will spoil the joke. And the more I just only want to say that the voice acting and the characters is just as loony as you expect on a Looney Tunes movie. Just expect a little bit of the pacing that if you are just looking for an hour and a half of just laughing on cartoons, it's fine. You're gonna get what you want. And again, 2D animation. I think even though I did say that it's no point because they're professional animators, 2D is so underutilized nowadays that it's worth talking about it. And it is great. I love hand-drawn animation, even though they still have digital colors, which makes the colors a little bit flat in some areas and some don't, but it's serviceable for what it is. And it has some great moments of lighting, camera shots. Everything feels fresh. And also I like they take advantage of being wacky Looney Tunes, in which they have wild takes, and the more wild takes it gets, the more I kind of laugh. This also comes up with the thing about the music, in which it's pretty Looney Tune-esque. Except that there's a little bit of a nitpick. I would say that there are two moments in which they use stock soundtracks for a scene. One of them is, of course, when they use "It's the end of the world as you know it," and of course, I can forgive that. I'll say. A lot of the jokes, it kind of lands. And another thing that this movie also makes it a little bit, chaotic. That it doesn't bound itself on its time period setting. Why? Because while the movie really looks like that it's stuck on the 50s, it still acknowledges that there's still social media, modern technology, and all this stuff, and it kind of makes you think that this is kind of like it kind of comes like a double-edged sword. Some people will find it ridiculous that they didn't do their research, or they think that this is a movie made by oldies who think that they're stuck in a bubble, but only with social media. But you know what? It's the new stuff. It's not exactly abuse, and it makes the world kind of like in itself a joke. And I find it funny. Like for example, imagine it's a world in which they use smartphones, but at the same time you see the everyday man wearing the coat that Fedora had, or you have bubblegum that costs like $2 or $2.10, or you can even buy it at a kiosk, a bubblegum for 5 cents. and they don't overuse it too much. They just use it kind of like for plot conveniences, and I accept it. It kind of earned itself that goofiness. I mean, they even try, and I know that there's a moment in which people might cringe, but I'm actually happy that it's actually more like a jab than idolizing one. Let's say that they made a joke about Daffy Duck being an influencer, and it showcases that nobody likes twerking. and trust me, that joke might sound cringe, but the payoff is spot on hilarious. I just laugh at that because it really showcased the sentiments of people when it's about that. And what a better way to showcase that mentality with none other than Daffy Duck. so yeah, I will say that some of the moment, yeah, it is it is. And so, depending on your mood, the jokes can be hit or miss, and that goes a little bit, with the theme that it has, in which, for some parts of the movie, it also has its emotional moment, and thankfully, when there is an emotional moment, it doesn't detract that it's still a Looney Tunes cartoon, and at the same time, it doesn't let the emotional problems feel like a cheap ploy. For example, in the last movie I saw, Shenanigans Apocalypse, I did mention the annoyance of the little hippopotamus, especially when it comes kind of like this emotional moment in between the two main characters. But unfortunately, there's the hippopotamus being a little bit of an irritating annoyance coming, in the middle and say, "Hey, what are you talking about? I like that," or something like that, which it kind of detracts from the emotion of it. In this movie, when there's emotion, it sticks with it. There's still a moment that, of course, it allows that, being loony, but it knows the timing, it knows when to do it, and it doesn't feel like it interrupts the flow. Most of it goes with the farmer John moment, in which, in a way, he's hilariously animated, but at the same time, you feel the bond that he had with them, and he kind of becomes a little bit like the emotional heart on both Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, and of course, there's also kind of like the emotional moment that happened almost during the climax. And while they stay loony, I bought it. It feels like it earns its moment, but at the same time, they don't forget. We are Looney Tunes. We are meant to make laugh. And considering, in which, to not spoil too much, it's a movie about the emotional moment. It's about it's about brotherhood, accepting everyone's faults. Accepting about who you are, but also showcasing where your faults as. I might tend to overanalyze these things. I'm just spouting what comes to my head, but honestly, I want to watch it again to have kind of like a little bit of a clear or cemented head on what it's talking about. But I will say that this movie. If I don't try, I will. These are kind of like moments in which I try to say that I don't want to overhype this movie, even though I am trying to persuade people to watch this movie more for the supportive of the 2D art. So okay. Maybe I will say that a little bit of the pacing can get people a little bit tired, because people will say that, I think Looney Tunes is better off, as a short or something like that. Fair enough, but if you're not looking that, then that's why you're here. You're here to watch a long format of the Looney Tunes, and I think they work well on its merit. Yeah. So honestly, I don't. and of course, things get crazier and crazier and all this thing. There are some things that I want to talk to you about. I'm not gonna dare to reveal because the whole movie is basically a whole big giant joke. And in this day and age in which we just desperately need to laugh, I really needed to laugh. That's all I needed. So so don't. So if you want, overall, I'll say that the day the Earth blew up, Looney Tunes movie, it blew up my expectations. I just blew up of laughter. I didn't need a perfect movie. I just needed something to blow my brains out, something to blow up my feelings with laughter. Just a cozy moment at the movies, not taking it itself too seriously. And well, it just took two pigs, a duck, a scientist, and an alien to pop me out of that bubble of gloom and blew my expectations out. So, with that said, let's celebrate with our gum. Don't worry, I think it's safe. Mmm. Juicy.